whenever a claim is related to a policy, the claim processing process needs to run. When it runs, it needs to be passed all the packages and process variables we defined as the process data for that business process. In xCP Designer, we can configure these kinds of triggering mechanisms by using an xCP business event. A business event in xCP Designer is a special xCP artifact that is triggered when something happens with a designated object that's designated as the event source, such as a condition, which would be specified as an expression, an action, such as somebody pressing a button, or when certain event types occur, such as completing a query or deleting an object, etc. Since business events are associated with a type, we hardly need to write TBOs, or task-based business objects, for our Documentum applications anymore. Many common events, such as create, update, delete, etc., can be trapped and a process can be invoked. In this section of the tutorial, we'll configure a business event to launch the claim processing stateful business process that we defined a few sections ago whenever a claim object is related to a policy object. So, in the xCP Navigator pane, select the Object Models tab. Then expand the Folders node and open the Claim Folder Model. Select the Business Events tab, and let's click the New Business Event button to configure a new one. On the first wizard page, for Label, enter Process Claim. For Select Trigger, select Policy Related. This means that this event will be one that's triggered when something happens as opposed to someone pressing a button. Are you wondering why we're using the Policy Related event instead of the Claim Created event? Well, the reason is because when we first create a claim, it's not initially related to a policy. Remember, this is a stateful process with some manual tasks. By the time this process starts, it's going to need that it's already related to its policy in a vehicle. Recall that there was another stateless process that we configured that took care of all that. A claim is always related to a policy after it's first created. Therefore, we have to use a trigger that occurs after the creation. So that's why we use policy related. Click Next. The second wizard page is where we configure which actions to execute when the event is triggered. In our case, we want to start a process. So let's click the Add button to do that. In the Add an Action wizard page, select Start Process from the drop-down list. Click the Selector button and choose the Claim Processing process, and then click Finish. Since this will be starting the claim processing process, it'll need to configure the process variables and packages needed by the process. The bold items are mandatory. We want to point out that a claim really does require a process and a vehicle. However, we elected to not make them mandatory, and the package claim package was the only one we defined as mandatory. So in summary, here is where we configure the data to get passed from the event to the process. We need to define each process variable that would be used by the process by selecting a package or variable and entering or selecting the value to pass to the process. Select the pkg_claim package and either enter the expression as event.claim or click the Select button to choose it from the Selector dialog. By the way, when assigning an object to a package, the actual objects passed to the process will be the ones that triggered the event in the first place. See how this works? Now select the package policy package and configure that as event.relatedPolicy.policy. For the object that triggered this event, we're going to configure the process data for the policy package to pass the policy that's related to the claim object that's identified through its relation object to the policy. Now let's do the same for the vehicle relation. We'll set up the package vehicle package to event.claim.vehicle.vehicle. So that's all we need to do. The context data of the relate event is aware of the claim and the related policy. Context data will vary depending on the event that we're configuring. Due to the relationships defined between the claim and its policy and vehicle, the process now has everything it needs just from the claim. And the vResponse variable, well, the value for that will come from the user's response after the process starts. Remember, that's a manual activity, and that holds whether they've approved or denied the claim. So let's click OK to close the Add Action dialog. Let's click Finish to close the business event for the claim dialog. Save the changes to the claim model, check the Problems tab for errors, and close the Claim Model Editor. Now, at the point where whenever a new claim object is related to its policy, the claim processing process will be started, and it'll have the necessary claim, policy, and vehicle packages set up.